I never imagined that my father's funeral, the one place where grief should have united us, would become the stage for my public humiliation. Yet as I stood beside his casket, trying to steady my breath, my older sister Vanessa stepped closer, her lips curling into a smile that didn't belong at a funeral. "She's just here for the money," she announced, loud enough for half the room to hear. A few guests pretended not to notice. Others stared openly. My stomach twisted. My name is Madison Carter, and in that moment, I felt every rumor, every lie Vanessa had whispered over the years tightening around my throat. She wanted everyone to believe I abandoned Dad, and that I'd returned only to collect whatever scraps he left behind. But then the church doors opened. Our father's lawyer walked in, holding a single USB drive. And when Vanessa saw it, her face drained of color. Growing up, I always believed my family was unbreakable. Dad, Richard Carter, was the kind of father who remembered every school project, every art competition, every dream I ever dared to speak aloud. And I was his little girl, the one he took on late-night drives just to show me how the city lights looked from different angles. Those were the moments when I felt closest to him, when I felt truly seen. But everything changed when we grew older. My sister, Vanessa, was 3 years ahead of me, older, sharper, always chasing perfection like it was oxygen. She built her life around being the responsible child, the one who followed every rule, every plan, every expectation. And for a long time, Dad praised her for it. I can still hear the way she spoke to me the day I told them I wanted to become an interior designer. "Madison," she scoffed, flipping her perfect blonde hair over her shoulder. "That's not a career, it's a phase. You'll quit once life gets serious." Dad didn't defend me. He didn't criticize me either, just fell silent, thoughtful, distant. That silence stretched into weeks, then months. Meanwhile, Vanessa made sure her voice was the only one he heard. Every achievement of hers became a headline. Every success of mine, a footnote. And slowly, painfully, I began to realize that the closeness Dad and I once had was slipping through my fingers, replaced by a fog of misunderstandings I couldn't explain. Not yet. I didn't realize it at first. I thought the growing distance between Dad and me was just life-busy schedules, different cities, different priorities. But Vanessa, she knew exactly what she was doing. It started small. A text message Dad never replied to. An email that must have gone to spam. A birthday call that he probably missed because he was tired. Vanessa always seemed to be the one explaining the reasons. Always with that same patronizing tone. "Don't take it personally, Madison. Dad's just overwhelmed." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But the truth was far uglier. Later, I'd learned that she had Dad's emails synced on her tablet. She filtered my messages, deleted others. If I sent photos of my new projects, Vanessa archived them before Dad ever saw a single one. One afternoon, I called Dad 3 times. All went to voicemail. Minutes later, Vanessa texted, "Dad saw your calls. He's busy, don't push it." I remember staring at the screen, confused and hurt. Dad never talked like that. But she kept going slowly, poisoning everything between us. She told relatives I rarely visited. Said I was too wrapped up in my fantasy designer life to care about family. At Thanksgiving, I overheard her whisper, "Madison only shows up when she needs attention. Dad's finally seeing her for who she is." Those words cut deeper than she knew. Because deep down, I feared she might be right, that maybe Dad had given up on me. And Vanessa? She wore that knowledge like a crown, ready to destroy me the moment she needed it most. I was sketching a layout for a client when my phone rang. The name on the screen wasn't Vanessa. It wasn't a relative. It was David Whitmore, my father's longtime attorney. "Madison." His voice was low, strained. "I'm afraid I have difficult news." For a moment, the world seemed to freeze around me. My pencil slipped from my fingers. "Your father passed away last night." I didn't speak. I couldn't. My ears rang, my lungs tightened, and all I could hear was the echo of the countless messages he'd never answered, messages I had always blamed myself for. I didn't even know he was sick," I whispered. David hesitated. "That's something we'll need to discuss later." The weight of those words, heavy and ominous, settled into my chest. He knew something I didn't. I hung up and immediately called Vanessa. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounding irritated, not heartbroken. "What?" she snapped. "You didn't tell me Dad was ill," I choked out. She sighed dramatically. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Madison. Dad didn't want everyone fussing over him. Everyone? Or just me? And why didn't you call me when he died? I asked. Her answer sliced through me. Because there was nothing you could have done. Everything's handled. Just show up for the funeral and don't make a scene. Then she hung up. No condolences. No grief. No acknowledgement that we'd just lost our father. When I arrived in our hometown 2 days later, I drove straight to the house, our childhood home. But Vanessa met me at the front door, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. The house is full, she said flatly. Relatives are staying here. You should book a hotel. This is our father's home, I whispered. It was, she corrected. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Then she closed the door slowly, deliberately leaving me standing alone on the porch where Dad used to wait for me every summer. For the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't part of the family anymore. I arrived at the church early, clutching a bouquet of white lilies, Dad's favorite. The sanctuary was quiet, the stained glass windows casting soft colors across the pews. I placed the flowers gently beside his casket and rested my hand on the polished wood. Hi, Dad, I whispered, my voice trembling. I'm sorry I wasn't. I'm sorry. Before I could finish, I heard heels clicking sharply behind me. Vanessa. She stopped beside me, her arms folded, eyes cold. Well, she said. Look who finally decided to show up. Vanessa, please, not here. But she stepped closer, lowering her voice only enough to make it intimate, almost intimate enough to sound crueler. You didn't care when he was alive. Don't act like you care now. My chest tightened. That's not true. You know that's not mine. Oh, trust me, she cut in. Everyone here knows why you came. As guests began to enter, she motioned subtly toward me, whispering to our aunts, cousins, anyone within reach. I saw the way their expressions shifted. Pity, suspicion, judgment. One cousin murmured, "She didn't even visit him once this year?" Another said, "I heard she didn't call him on his birthday." Every word hit harder than the last. All lies. All planted by Vanessa. During the service, she sat proudly in the front row, shoulders straight, the devoted daughter. I sat alone, halfway back, feeling like an intruder at my own father's farewell. But the worst moment came at the reception afterward. I was pouring coffee, trying not to cry, when Vanessa raised her voice across the room, loud, sharp, meant to draw attention. Everyone's wondering, she said, how long Madison plans to stick around before grabbing her share of the inheritance. Heads turned. Mugs paused midair. My breath caught. I'm not here for money, I managed, voice cracking. Vanessa laughed. A cruel, ringing laugh. Please, you're only here because Dad isn't around to see through your act anymore. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. Then the doors opened. David Whitmore walked in, holding a slim USB drive in one hand. He cleared his throat. Vanessa. Madison, your father left specific instructions. His video message must be played before the will is read. Vanessa's smirk faltered, her face blanched, and for the first time that day, she looked afraid. The conference room was colder than I expected, sleek, too polished, too quiet. A long mahogany table stretched across the center, surrounded by chairs already filling with relatives, business partners, and board members from Dad's company. Vanessa sat confidently at the head of the table. Her posture screamed rightful heir. Her expression said she'd already won. When I walked in, the room fell into a hush. Not respectful. Judgmental. Vanessa gave a theatrical sigh. Oh, you came? How surprising. She gestured toward the chair farthest from her, practically against the wall. We saved you a seat. I swallowed my humiliation and sat. Several family members avoided eye contact. A couple whispered with hands cupped to their mouths. I heard one of the board members mutter, "This won't take long. Vanessa will inherit everything." Another replied. The younger one barely spoke to Richard. Of course she's out. My stomach twisted. Their opinions weren't just wrong, they were built on lies. Vanessa had planted like landmines everywhere I turned. David Whitmore entered precisely at 10 a.m., carrying a folder and the USB drive. Unlike everyone else, he offered me a gentle nod, one that felt painfully rare. "Thank you for coming," he said. To me, not Vanessa. Vanessa's jaw clenched. David took his seat, removed his glasses, and spoke. As stated in Mr. Carter's instructions, we will begin with the video message he recorded 3 months ago. This video must be viewed in full before we proceed with the legal will. A murmur rippled across the room. 3 months ago? That would have been around the time Dad suddenly stopped answering me altogether. Vanessa forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. There must be some mistake, she said lightly. Dad discussed everything with me. There was no video. David calmly opened his folder. Miss Carter, your father recorded this privately. He asked that no one, especially you, be made aware of it. The room collectively inhaled. My pulse pounded. Why especially her? What had Dad discovered? Vanessa blinked rapidly, her confidence slipping. Play it, she snapped, though her voice wavered. The lights dimmed. David inserted the USB into the laptop. I gripped the edge of my chair so tightly my knuckles turned white. The screen flickered. Static. Then an image slowly sharpened into focus. My father alive, composed, sitting at his oak desk with the window behind him. My heart surged into my throat. He looked healthier than I remembered, almost peaceful. Then he spoke. Hello. If you're watching this, it means I'm no longer with you, and there are things I learned, truths I must reveal before my will is read. Vanessa froze. The entire room leaned forward. I held my breath, because whatever Dad was about to say would change everything. Dad's voice filled the room, steady, calm, heartbreakingly familiar. If you're watching this, he began, I want you to know I love both my daughters, but love doesn't blind me anymore. A ripple of tension swept through the room. Vanessa sat perfectly still, but her fingers twitched against the table, betraying the fear rising in her chest. Dad inhaled slowly. I need to address something I should have seen long ago. He reached to the side and lifted a small stack of papers, printed emails, screenshots, phone logs. When I first noticed Madison's messages disappearing, he said, I assumed it was a technical issue, until I found dozens of her emails in the archive folder, unread, deleted, moved without my knowledge. Vanessa's breathing hitched, barely audible, but I heard it. Dad continued. At first, I blamed myself, thought I'd overlooked them. But then I checked my phone records. I discovered that nearly every missed call from Madison had been marked as handled by someone else. He looked directly into the camera. Handled by you, Vanessa. A loud gasp shot across the room. Vanessa bolted upright. That's not true. He was confused. David raised a hand sharply. Miss Carter, you will remain silent until the video concludes. Her mouth snapped shut, but her eyes burned with panic. Dad's voice darkened. I hired a cybersecurity expert, and later a private investigator. What they found broke my heart. He lifted another paper this time, a printed report. For years, Madison reached out to me. She sent messages, photos of her work, invitations to her shows, and every one of them was intercepted by Vanessa. Deleted, altered, hidden. My throat tightened, tears blurred my vision. Dad continued, voice cracking just slightly. I thought Madison abandoned me. I thought she didn't care. I was wrong. Vanessa slammed her palms on the table. This is insane. She did abandon you. I told you. The video cut through her voice. No, Vanessa. You told me what you needed me to believe. The room fell into stunned silence. Dad leaned back, exhaustion visible even through the screen. But what hurt me most, he said softly, was hearing the way you spoke about your sister. The cruelty, the smugness, the lies you spread to our family. He shook his head. Madison didn't deserve that. Not from you, not from me. A quiet sniffle echoed. Someone in the room was crying. Maybe more than one. Then Dad's voice strengthened. I want to speak to you directly, Madison. My heart nearly stopped. He shifted closer to the camera. You have always followed your heart. You have always lived honestly. I was proud of you long before you ever knew it. I covered my mouth, shaking. I saw your work. Secretly. Bought pieces through a friend. I kept photos, magazine reviews, even your early drafts. I wish I had told you sooner. His eyes softened, sad, regretful. I plan to come to your gallery opening in March. I bought the ticket. It's still on my desk. A sob escaped me. Vanessa stared, trembling. Dad took a steadying breath. Now, regarding my estate, everyone in the room straightened. This was the moment. Dad's tone shifted, firm, decisive. I can no longer trust Vanessa with my legacy. Not after the lies, the manipulation, the intentional destruction of her sister's relationship with me. Vanessa clutched the armrests. No. No, you can't, Dad, you promised. The video responded as if he heard her desperation. That is why the previous will is revoked. Vanessa's face went completely white. Dad read from a document. To my daughter Vanessa Carter, I leave a fixed annual allowance of $40,000 for 10 years conditional upon mandatory family counseling and full cooperation with the investigation into her actions. And enderfied. Ending model problem and the rask. Vanessa let out a choked, animal-like sound. This is a joke, this is some kind of sick. David glared. Miss Carter. Sit. Down. She collapsed into the chair, shaking violently. Dad continued. To my daughter, Madison Carter, I leave the entirety of my personal estate, my home, my investment portfolios, and 65% ownership of Carter & Co. My jaw dropped. The room erupted in whispers. Dad wasn't done. You may choose to lead the company, or appoint someone you trust. I want you to bring integrity back into our name. He gave a small, heartbreaking smile. You were never the disappointment, Madison. I was for not standing beside you sooner. A long pause followed. I hope, wherever I am, you can forgive me. The screen flickered, and the video ended. Silence crushed the room. Then, Vanessa screamed. No, I won't accept this. You can't take everything from me. She doesn't deserve his name, his company, his legacy. She lunged across the table toward me. Security rushed in. 2 men held her back as she kicked, clawed, shrieking. This was supposed to be mine. I sat frozen, tears streaming down my face, because for the first time in years, I finally heard Dad's real voice, his truth. And it shattered everything Vanessa had built, everything she'd stolen, everything she thought she was entitled to. The lie was dead, and so was the power she'd used to destroy me. This was the moment my life, and my family, changed forever. Vanessa's screams were still echoing down the hallway long after security dragged her out. The room remained frozen, no one moved, no one breathed. It felt like the entire world had cracked open and was waiting to see what would crawl out of the rubble. I wiped my face with trembling hands. David Whitmore cleared his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the written will. But no one was listening, not really. Everyone's eyes were on me. The same people who'd whispered I was a freeloading daughter now stared as if they'd misjudged a queen. I felt sick. When the meeting ended, board members approached cautiously. One woman, Mrs. Hughes, murmured, I'm so sorry, Madison. We didn't know. I wasn't ready to forgive. But I nodded politely. Others apologized too, some with genuine shame, others with that hollow tone of people afraid of losing their connections to power. Outside the conference room, I found Vanessa in the lobby. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks, her hair disheveled. She looked nothing like the flawless older sister who'd strutted through Dad's funeral just hours earlier. She glared at me with red, furious eyes. This isn't over, she whispered, voice shaking. You ruined me. I swallowed hard. You ruined yourself, Vanessa. My voice didn't sound like mine, strong, steady, final. I just didn't keep your secrets anymore. She opened her mouth to argue, but her lawyer appeared, tugging her away. The moment she was gone, my knees finally gave out. I sank onto one of the lobby benches, breath ragged, heart pounding in my ears. The realization hit me all at once. Dad had believed me. Dad had apologized. Dad had chosen me. And now, all of it, all, the grief, the lies, the inheritance, the broken pieces were mine to carry. I moved into Dad's house. The house Vanessa tried so hard to keep me from entering. The air smelled like cedar and old books. His slippers were still beside the bed. A half-read novel lay open on the armchair. Every room whispered memories. In the study, I noticed a drawer slightly open. Inside were printouts of my portfolio, magazine clippings about my exhibitions, photos from my college graduation, even sketches I didn't remember showing him. Dad had kept everything. My breath caught in my throat. Then I found the notebook, a leather-bound journal with Dad's initials on the cover. His handwriting filled the pages, dated entries, thoughts, regrets. One read, Madison's new collection, breathtaking. I wish I'd said that aloud. Another, Vanessa insists Madison doesn't call, but something feels wrong. And the last entry, dated 5 days before he died. Bought a ticket to New York. I'm going to surprise her. I want to fix this. If anything happens, she must know the truth. A sob tore through me. He tried. He really tried. I pressed the notebook to my chest and cried until I couldn't breathe. I met with the company board. Many were hesitant, but David backed me, and the will was indisputable. Carter & Co. became mine. I didn't pretend to be a real estate expert. I didn't pretend to be Vanessa. I hired ethical managers, launched internal audits, fixed the corner-cutting projects Vanessa had pressured the teams into completing. People slowly began respecting me not because I demanded it, but because I led differently. Better. With heart. Cousin Meg called first. Madison, I'm sorry. I believed Vanessa. I shouldn't have. A week later, Aunt Laura, we were wrong about you. Your father was proud of you. But forgiveness wasn't instant. Wounds need time. I accepted the sincere apologies and ignored the opportunistic ones. Vanessa never reached out. Word was she moved to Arizona with money from a friend, still insisting the will was manipulated, still painting herself as the victim. I didn't chase her. Some ties aren't meant to be repaired. And yet, in all the chaos, all the grief and healing and anger, one truth settled gently inside me. Dad didn't leave me his company. He left me a chance to heal what he broke, and what Vanessa tried to destroy. I wasn't just inheriting a business. I was inheriting the truth. Finally, in the quiet weeks that followed, life settled into a strange new rhythm, half grief, half rebuilding. Every morning, I walked through Dad's house with a mug of coffee, feeling the weight of both his absence and the legacy he'd left for me. It was overwhelming, but also strangely grounding. One afternoon, while sorting through documents in his study, I found a sealed envelope tucked inside the bottom drawer. My name, Madison, written in Dad's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single letter. My sweet girl, if you're reading this, then the video has already spoken. But a father should still leave his daughter something in his own words. You were never the mistake. You were the miracle I failed to cherish well enough. Go create the life you dream of, but don't forget the world needs integrity as much as beauty. Lead with both. Dad! Tears streamed down my face as I read it again. And again. That night, I made a decision. Carter & Co. would not remain the cold machine Vanessa wanted it to be. It would become something new. Something that reflected both my father's values and my own. Starting something new. I established the Carter Foundation for Arts and Community Renewal, using a portion of the company profits to support local artists, interior design students, and neighborhood restoration projects. At the launch event, dozens of people gathered at the gallery Dad once planned to attend. His framed letter sat at the entrance, a silent guest of honor. In my speech, I said, "My father taught me that buildings can stand tall for 100 years, but truth is the only thing that lasts forever." I felt him there, somewhere between the applause and the soft glow of the gallery lights. A visit to the cemetery. A week later, I visited his grave for the first time since the funeral. The December wind was cool against my skin as I knelt, placing a bouquet of white lilies, just like the ones I had brought to the church. "Hi, Dad," I whispered, brushing fallen leaves off the headstone. "I hope you can see everything. The changes, the truth, the foundation. I'm trying. I really am." Saying it aloud felt like closing a wound that had been open for years. I told him about the company, about the employees who'd thanked me, about the projects we were revising to reflect real integrity. And then, softly, "I forgive you. And I hope, someday, Vanessa forgives herself too." The wind rustled the trees, almost like an answer. Moving forward, I didn't hear from Vanessa. Maybe I never would. But I no longer needed her approval or her understanding to feel whole. Some relationships don't mend. Some stories end quietly, with distance instead of reconciliation. And that's okay. Because the story that mattered, the one between me and Dad, had finally found its truth. He saw me. He chose me. He believed in me. And now, I was ready to believe in myself too. Dad didn't just leave me a company. He left me a compass, a reminder that truth may hurt, but it heals. And sometimes, the greatest inheritance isn't money or property, but the chance to rewrite your own story, with honesty, courage, and a heart finally free from lies. My name is Madison Carter, and this is where my life truly began.